Hi everyone, so I thought I'd address one of the common myths for owning an EV, and is that you can only have one if you have a drive. Well, look at me here on my terrace street. This is the rear alley or the bin alley, but I managed to run my EV and I managed to do 20,000 miles a year purely from charging on a terraced house. This is my solution, is that I installed my EV charger on the rear of my house. Now, why did I put it there and not here, so there's no cable run round the back? Well, at the time, I looked at the permitted development rules and it had to be 2 meters away from the highway, otherwise you wouldn't get planning permission. So, or otherwise you had to apply for planning permission, which was a silly consideration really. I should have just put it there anyway and just got a 200 quid insurance when I sold the house, which is almost nothing, isn't it? What's 200 quid when you're selling an expensive house? But the reason why I wanted to show you today is that you can easily charge an EV on a back alley for terraced houses, especially as I don't have any neighbours that access their property on the other side of the road, so there's no parking restrictions at all, and there's no pressure for parking at the back at all, so it's nice and easy. So I thought I'd show us some more of the innovative solutions that other people in Whitley Bay have for getting their EV charging sorted while I go buy some Christmas presents. Well, hey, because I know there's a load of good ones just around the corner. This is my favourite EV charging because taxis do loads of miles, so it's really great to get taxis electrified, and each customer can ask the taxi driver, oh, what's an EV like? And they get to see it being quiet, smooth, cheap to run, and the taxi driver raving about how much he loves his car. So that is another solution. There is 1, 2, 3 parking spots by that terraced home, and they can get it and they can charge it enough whenever he's sleeping. He must have done a night shift and he's just plugging in and getting cheap charging every day. It'd be nice to have a chat with them and see how happy they are with the car and see how happy they are with EV in general. Maybe I'll try and do that one day. So on this terrace, just a couple of streets away from mine, there's actually 2 EVs. This one here is a Fev Golf, but there's another around the corner that has a similar charging sign up hanging out the back of their car, but they're teenagers with skateboarding, so I'm not going to film them. But excellent to see more EVs on the street. So it looks like I'm not the only one to have such a great idea of charging the EV in the back yard or the back drive. Here on a yard on my way to the kids' school, we've got a Tesla Model Y owner doing it too. So they're able to access the 7p cheap EV charging, which is less than 2p a mile, rather than paying around 12p a mile that you pay if you have a combustion engine car. And that's been generous at 50 miles a gallon. And you may say it's a bit cheeky to put these signs outside your garage saying, please don't park here for EV charging. But people do it anyway, for their garages in general. People always want access to the garages, even if they never open them. So a dilapidated garage with planters in front of it, still with a sign saying, please don't park here, access required 24/7, when they've got big planters parked outside of it. So clearly never use that garage or open it anytime soon. So there's lots of options for charging EVs on terraces, not least, hopefully, what I'd like to do by this video is encourage you all to consider getting an EV in your backyard. You could either remove your wall at the back and put a garage door that comes up, and then you could park in your rear yard. You might not want to lose that space and give it over to car parking, fair enough. But you could just put it on the back wall and charge when you park on the street. If you think that you can park there regularly, or at least once a week. The average commute is about 1 week's worth of your battery. It's actually more like 10 days or even 14 days. So even in winter, when you get less range, you should be fine for at least a week. For example, the average commute is 20 miles a day. So you'd be doing 10 there, 10 back, 20 miles, 5 times, 100 miles, right? But the average UK EV's got a range of 250, 300 miles. So even in winter where you're not quite getting those figures and you're getting 30% less, you're still going to be able to do a week's worth and just charge on a Sunday when everyone's gone to the shops or whatever, and have no problems. And so, yeah, let's just go have a look at some more back streets and see who else is jumping on the EVs. For example, this is one that stood out to me opposite my daughter's ballet class in Whitley Bay, is this sign here. Private parking. It most certainly is not private parking. You're not entitled to park at your rear yard. It's very convenient for EV charging, but you see, people get very territorial about their space because there's yellow lines outside the front of their house. And it is by your gate. And if you had like a garage access, like a lot of these are, I don't think a lot of these are garages, but they do have like kind of garage doors. So I can see why you'd be attached to them. And this is another reason why I thought I'd come down this street, just to highlight more EVs, because we've got another EV taxi here. Little delay while I felt awkward while there's people around. And you see this beautiful 21 plate Tesla Model 3 EV taxi set up with their charging at their rear yard. Again, it's a bit cheeky saying private parking, it's not. And they've even got CCTV up there, so hopefully they don't think I'm too weird. And I saw a great local business, the Whitley Bay dog walking company, who've got like a Nissan van EV, maybe it's a Town Star, I think that's what they're called, parking in there. So he's got this huge garage door that he retracts the whole width of his terraced property, and he reverses his van inside to use his rear yard as a charging area. So it seems like there's loads of different ways you can get an EV, even in terraced homes, and how people are innovating to save that £1,000 a year. You save about £1,000 a year. I'll pop the maths up in a text to show you quite how that works. But yeah, why not go electric? Cleaner, faster, better, cheaper, and more convenient really. Being able to charge at home is such a huge benefit for life, not having to go to petrol stations, not have to go out your way. You rarely have to charge at home. And this is one MG4, and this is another MG4 off my shoulder. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you in the... If you park your car outside the front of your house, what is the solution for charging on your home electricity, on your 7p per kilowatt hour EV tariff then? Well, the solution is probably something like Kerbo charge. So let's check out their solution here and how it might work for you on a terrace street too. Because there's lots of myths about this, that I can only park 100 yards away from my house, I can only do this. Well, actually, I could park outside the front of my house about 50% of the time. That's more than I need in order to charge my EV. In fact, if you look at the range of the car and how much the average person commutes, you'll probably do at least 2 weeks. So this solution could well work for you.
Hi, I'm Kirsty, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to insert and remove your cable from the Kerbo Charge channel. To insert your cable, lift the lid at one end and feed your cable in a handful at a time, like this. To remove, it's even easier. You pull the cable along like this, and the specially designed lid closes behind, just like a zip. Kerbo Charge. Simple, safe, secure.
So one of the first things you might want to know after seeing that is, well, can I get one? And it all depends on whether your local authority has allowed it or not. So here is a list and a map of all the locations that are allowing it. In the northeast where I am, Northumberland, you're allowed it. Newcastle Central, you're not. North Tyneside, you are not. Sunderland, you are allowed it. And I did write to them to make sure they did approve it, given they're making the Nissan Leaf an excellent EV made in Sunderland itself. It'd be a bit ridiculous if a worker at the Nissan plant wanted to buy a Nissan Leaf that they were making, charge it at their own home, but Sunderland County Council weren't allowing them to do so. And so I have no idea if I had any influence on that or not, but hey, they've approved it. Fantastic. Middlesbrough there's a trial, and Hartlepool too. One of the other things people are worried about is how smooth it has to be. Is it a trip hazard, etc.? It's got to have a 3mm tolerance and only installed by council-approved installers, so that there is no trip hazard at all, and it's perfectly level with the existing pavement. So no barrier to prams, no barrier to pushchairs, no barrier to wheelchairs. The next thing you might want to know about is pricing. So the figure will be about £999. All depends on your council and how cheap or expensive they want to make it. There's also a £350 grant from the government under the Local Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Levy grant. But your particular charger that you might want to choose is on top of that. You can choose these cheaper electric sockets, but you may lack access to smart tariffs if you do so. Allegedly, the government does really want to encourage these, but it published this on its website at Christmas Eve last year, and it gives instructions for councils for how to implement cross-pavement solutions and legal advice, etc. The guidelines talks about two different types: the Kerbo charge type on the left, and on the right the Trojan energy type, where permanent cables are under the ground and you put this big stick, or wand as they call it, in your boot and plug that into your car. Allegedly, the government wants it to be easier and cheaper for you to be able to do this, but the latest budget says differently, really, doesn't it? And I thought I'd use this image to show you one of the guidelines from the Kerbo Charge team is that you can plug in your car directly outside where the gully is, or in this case the EV6, or you see where the silver car's placed, you'd also be allowed to plug that car in to your charger, and if you can see the presumably Range Rover in front, you'd be allowed to plug that one in too, but no further than that. I actually came up in the editing with one final thought on this. I'm just going to squeeze this in right before my wrap up, is that please write to your council to try and get solutions like Kerbo Charge and Trojan Energy approved. I've written to mine, goodness knows how many times, they've not listened, but my friend James, the first time he wrote to the Hartlepool Council, they immediately approved a trial, and that trial's ongoing now and working. And there's also one in Durham that's ongoing that my council are waiting to see how it goes, as if there's special considerations for their terraces versus our terraces. It just needs nationally approved locally. Nationally approved locally. There needs the government to mandate that councils can't sit on their arse about this, and they just need to get on with it, in my opinion. Please write to your councillors to make it happen, or Highways Department. Google your councillors' email addresses, Google your Highways Departments or EV officers' email address, and please send them an email politely demanding that they allow you to do this. Okay, cheers. So is that basically a wrap, everyone? Hopefully I've shown you all the different ways you can get an EV on a terrace street and have it charged at your home energy rate. So let me know if you've got any comments or thoughts below and join the conversation. I haven't really covered the Trojan energy solution. It can be hooked up to public energy, and they are the CPO, and that's about 40p a kilowatt hour, not cheap, but about the same price as petrol if you're adding 3p on per mile, with a new government tax that's coming in later in the Parliament, potentially coming in later in the Parliament. Who knows what will happen. But it can be hooked up to your electricity as well. But you do have to have this daft wand that's a couple of feet long in your boot, taking up valuable boot space. So lots of people have thoughts on about how much mud could be could block the charge and the connection for that, and keeping that clean may be a nightmare. Don't know. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Like, comment, subscribe. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Cheers.